Okay. Don't be shy. At the end of the day, we all look tiny, tiny little, like a little postage stamp. So don't worry about that. And it's 4:06. So Lori, I'm going to jump on it. I could use all the minutes and seconds I've got. All right. Yes. Okay. So here we go. Before we begin, I want us to do a quick polling, and I just want to see what you're thinking. So here's a polling. I'm going to launch it and just answer whatever you feel is best to you. What does modern art mean to you? Is it breaking tradition, experimental art, defining future, or just being playful? What do you think it is? And there are only a few of us, so I'm not giving you too much of time, but answer it or click on any buttons, please. Okay, did you do it? I am going to end the poll and I will share the results. Whoa, I am surprised to see this. Okay, I will show it to you too. Hold on. Boom. Can you see it? Are you surprised by what majority of you chose, which is experimental art? Whoa. Okay, to tell you the truth, it could be really any one of those, right? But I wanted to see what you were thinking, because MoMA, Museum of Modern Art, is redefining modern art. Before the pandemic, they had just made the museum 20% bigger. Can you imagine 20%? That's huge number. Don't ask me how big that is. I'll show it to you visually because I'm a visual person. I'm not a mathematician. And before we get to the presentation, this is to celebrate you. So I would love to hear from some of you if that's possible, see you even better, and also may I ask you to participate, read a passage or two, nothing complicated, I promise you. And let me quickly introduce myself. My name is Maria Yoon. I'm an artist. I've been in the museum world for the last 25 years and still going strong, don't do the math, and a founder of a private museum tourist company here in New York City. So I'm joining you from New York City. I am going to depend on you techie people. If there's any computer glitch, say, Maria, hold on. I cannot see the pictures or the videos, okay? Unless otherwise, I'm gonna get to it. So here we go with our first presentation. And those of you who's wondering, like 20% bigger, what does that mean? So I put the floor plan here, and you can see whichever beige areas are, those are the new floors and the galleries they've extended. And that's quite large. I mean, if you were to ask me, Maria, what's your favorite museum as a New Yorker, I would say the Met, right? Well, this is being recorded, but hopefully only amongst us, okay? MoMA is becoming my first these days, and hopefully I could convince you too. So let's go there, yes? Okay. And also I'm doing it this way instead of really doing the full screen, just because sometimes I put a checkbox on it and then it overlaps the picture and some of you cannot see it unless you have two computer screens. I'm figuring that out. Okay, so who designed the new MoMA expansion 20%? You're looking at the architect right on the left, Diller, Scofidio, and Renfro. They, for New York City reference, they redid the Central Park, Lincoln Center. And also there's a touristy area called the Hudson Yard, called the Shed, and they have new galleries and hot spot to visit nowadays. Maybe you've all heard of Bessel. It was on the news because you could climb up and many tourists go visit. So these three architects did a great job with keeping art in their mind, because sometimes architects have egos too, just like most artists. and they want to showcase their talent and their expertise. Three, they said, art is going to take the center stage, which means bring the natural light inside, bring the outside in. So I love that. Now, we're going to start our tour from 5th floor, go down to 4, 3, 2, and end all of you outside the garden. I may be overly too ambitious. Let's just see. Now, what do I mean by modern art is changed? Well, they said, forget all the isms. What is ism? Maybe you've heard of cubism, futurism, post-impressionism. Forget that. It's not just for an artist, it's for everyone. We could all relate to, if I throw you 1880 and 1940, maybe you could think of someone who grew up at that time. So it's really for everyone. So let's go there. Fifth floor is welcomed by this grouping of collection by one artist. His name was Constantine Brancusi, my favorite Romanian artist who became famous in France. 1900, 1920. You want to be an artist, writer, dancer, performer? I don't care where you are from. You had to get on the plane and go to Paris. And he did. He certainly did. And look at his artwork. Unfortunately, they closed this off. I wish I could have showed you some videos. I don't have it. But let's zoom into one of the objects, which is all the way to the back. And it's this piece right here. Can you use your imagination? Anything goes, okay? Use the checkbox unless you don't mind unmuting yourself and shouting out. What do you think the shape reminds you of? Because we have to channel your 5-year-old self. Don't channel your age, okay? Then you're not gonna answer my questions. What does this remind you of? This shape, what is this? Okay, reminds me of an ocean, Damon says. By the way, I'm reading your comments in case you're thinking, what is Maria saying? It doesn't make sense. I'm not saying your statements don't make sense, but in case I'm talking about something else and I'm reading your comment, it's not gonna make sense. And then I feel like there's a whale in me. Oh, whale to me, that's what Julia said. And then stone mill, this is really good. Yes, and even a table, why not? Or big scale. Who said big scale, Daniel? Okay, well, I love this because something about the color. Here's the clue, something about the color. Let's go there to the second perspective. Maybe this perspective will give you a little bit more. Just because if I was able to shoot this in video, you would see their sense of false illusion of movement. Yes, 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 you're looking at a sculpture, I know. But can I tell you, sometimes it creates an illusion of movement as it's moving with you. That's the beauty of looking at simple art like this. Take my word for it. Next time you're at a museum or gallery, you don't even have to go to the museum, okay? Any art gallery, we see something simple, sculpture like this, go look at it and move around, right? Because it's not flat like a painting. And when you move around, it looks like the sculpture is moving with you, truly. Do all sculptures do that? Of course not. But Brancusi sculpture, oh, it does it all the time for me. And this is what I'm saying. This adds different perspective. And I think who said it? I'm gonna go back. Some of you said feather. I'm gonna go back. Julia said, it looks like a whale to me. You got it, Julia. He was channeling a whale. And it's the color, it's the shape, something of that elongated, ovalish, bluish, greenish color. It's supposed to depict a whale. Abstract art like this, it's not just made from thin air. No, all the artists have looked at something and they made it their own. And essentially, what I'm saying is everything was copied. But they made it their own and it looked like this, whale looked like this. But why am I starting off modern art exhibit with his work? Here's the story. This really happened for real. Early 1920s, Brancusi had a chance to come to New York City for an art exhibition. His buddy Duchamp, it doesn't matter who he is right now, but Duchamp said, hey, I'm going to give you a break. You're moving and shaking in Paris. I'm going to bring you to New York City. Let's see if you could be New Yorker's heart. And when he got to JFK, guess what happened to all the crates of his masterpieces? Custom agents opened the crate and voila, they said, oh, excuse me, Mr. Brancusi, you cannot bring any pieces of stones, raw material, oh no. Metal, oh no. If you're going to do that, you have to pay us taxes. Brancusi was heartbroken. He's thinking, oh, pity, these New Yorkers, they don't know anything about art. And he said, I'm sorry, these are not raw materials. Therefore, I refuse to pay. It went all the way to the Supreme Court. Can you imagine? Supreme Court. They had to decide if this is truly an artwork or raw material. Can you imagine? I mean, at the end of the day, judge was like, I'm sorry, I didn't go to any art school, but I don't see any whale here. Where's the whale? I don't see it swimming. I don't see any water to go with it. Where is it? And Brancusi was like, sir, your honor, please use your imagination. I could only imagine what he said because I do not know, okay? But what I do know is he challenged the judge and everyone else in that courtroom. And at the end of the day, guess what happened? Who won? Of course, judge said, listen, I still don't see the whale, but the more and more I look at it, guess what? I'm falling in love with it. So I'll let you win this time. But this is the moment there is a law implemented to protect the artist so that artists don't ever have to go through what Brancusi went through ever again. Hallelujah. That's what I have to say about that. So already that's one news about modern art. And Damon is saying, yeah, I was reading about breaking the complex image down to basic shape. You got it. Yes, Damon. And eyes of the beholder. Yes, all of you are correct. So isn't that interesting and refreshing? Somebody had to challenge our society. And then, of course, I'm taking you to this room. And this room, most of the artwork, exception of two, it's all by famous Spanish artists who challenged perspective. What do I mean by perspective? If I want to draw a picture of your face, frontal, back, top, bottom, squished with my paintbrush and paint, how are you going to do it? You cannot use a camera. Oh no, you could only use paintbrush and paint. And this man right here, he figured it out. And his name is, boom, boom, boom. You probably heard of his name before because let me tell you, he's got gigantic ego. Talk about ego, not to mention he broke so many girls' hearts. I cannot stand it. But he was so good at what he knew, and that is to paint in this manner in which you see in front of you. His name, Pablo Picasso. I have the strange feeling, maybe I'm like 99% right most of the time, but I don't know, I could be wrong today. Any one of you could read French or speak French in the room or want to try to read French because the title over here, I don't want to make a fool out of myself. I cannot pronounce French names or titles for the life of me. If any one of you want to challenge yourself and read that title for us, please. Any volunteers? Right under his name, Pablo Picasso. Please. I might have to pick on you, Dana or David. No. Between any one of you, no volunteers. Damon, you want to go for it? I'm just picking on you.
I have no idea. Les Demoiselles d'Avignon.
Thank you. Well, this is a famous avenue, by the way, that actually still exists in Paris. It's a famous avenue. Thank you, Damon, truly. It's a famous avenue where you might come across these fine-looking ladies. What do I mean by that? Well, you're seeing them striking a pose. What kind of ladies will be striking a pose in this manner? My goodness, they're not afraid to be naked. So we know what kind of lady they are. They're working. I have full respect for them. So the question to you is, what did Pablo Picasso do that this is so important and popular that it's worthy of MoMA, Museum of Modern Art? What did he do to them? These group of ladies, prostitutes. Yep, I'm saying it right out. What did he do to them? Because 2 of them out of the 5 looks rather odd. Or you could disagree with me too, really. Disagreement is what makes also art observation fun. If I zoom in a little bit closer, you could see the 2 ladies on the right, it looks like they're wearing a mask. Or they rather look monstrous, right? Like a monster, like, I don't know. Well, and the other 3 ladies, I guess they kind of look more realistic. But at the end of the day, if you look at the still life on the bottom, this this image of watermelon, I don't care how hot it is, and you're thirsty, I have to think twice before I bite into that watermelon or grapes or that pear-shaped object that you see on the bottom. Because Pablo Picasso is using a lot of angular lines, like straight edge and curved and sharp lines. So it's that sharp line contrast that makes this image rather strange and odd. So this is beginning of what we know as Cubism. Cubism is, like I said earlier, he's challenging the perspective, front, back, top, bottom, squished into one flat surface. And when he invented this technique, can I tell you, other people were so inspired, they went with it too. And they were all trying to make it their own. So this is beginning of what's to come. As far as the two ladies that looks like wearing a mask, what about them? Well, at this time, African art, primitive art was very exotic in France. They didn't know much about that type of art. So Pablo Picasso, coming from Spain originally, he had visited the primitive museums and other museums too. And he said, hey, this is unknown in this part of the world in Europe. I'm going to introduce it to them. So he included them onto this particular painting. So this is one of his many famous paintings to visit, and MoMA certainly owns it. And then there are photographs right next to this painting, which I thought, ooh, wait a minute, I'm a little bit confused. Before 2019, when they expanded it by 20%, they said, we're not gonna separate photographs, films, paintings, and sculptures. No, 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 no. We're going to include them on the same floor, right next to each, I can't even, tongue tie, right next to each other. And that's exactly what they did here, because all of a sudden after that, you come across this black and white stunning photograph by James Van der Zee. He was a Harlem Renaissance artist, Black American, who became known for making them look glamorous. I mean, look at this couple. I know it's really hot right now. It's hot here in New York City. I cannot imagine wearing these mink coats, but something about them, something about this coupe automobile, they just look glamorous, right? And this is what he was known for, making them look really even better than life. I also call him as the Photoshop guy. He just made them look really, really too good. So he's embracing Harlem lifestyle, community for the Black Americans. And these pictures are also prominently displayed. And then I thought, whoa, this is really getting really, really more interesting. What do I mean by that? Never once did I thought when I'm giving private museum tour experience, I have to talk about the metal gates. I never did, because I was not interested in the metal gates until MoMA challenged us people to say, hey, what about these designs? Because these are art too. Somebody had to think about them and do preliminary sketches and come up with it. And either it be gates, window protections, protectors, or whatever it may be, they decided to display these right next to one gallery after another. But for me, it's the shadow that catches, that creates interesting patterns and design, because imagine these were actually drawn on a flat piece of paper first before they came alive three-dimensionally, right? Damon is saying, yes, those shadows are amazing. And that's why I'm showing it to you. Thank you in this perspective. But this building, Casa Milla, I don't know if any one of you have been to Barcelona. If you've been to Barcelona, this is one of the residential buildings. Anthony Gaudi, who designed this? Hold on, who designed this church? Oh, we recognize this church, don't we? Yes, 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 Gila, you and I are on the same page here. I want to go there. Yes, actually, I am going there in September. So we all know this building, don't we? They're still in making after 135 years. Yep, you heard me right, 135. Can you imagine? Artist is dead. Yes, Anthony Gaudi is dead, gone. But his design still lives on. So people are still recreating based on his 3D modeling and his sketches. So this is the gate Anthony Gaudi designed for this residential building called Casa Mila. So you could see how the design of overall architecture kind of fits in with what he was doing with the gate. Does that make sense? So again, MoMA is setting the tone. 1906, 1912. What were artists thinking about? What kind of concept, what kind of designs became modern art? Experimental, right? So that you're also going to come across. And then of course, furnitures too. Why not? And this is what I'm saying by how the way in which they're displaying and showcasing everything from 1880 to 1940 is organized in this manner, as if you're walking through fifth floor, looking at the furnitures, interior designs, even posters, right? And metal gates and famous Picasso paintings. Who knew? Yep, isn't that interesting? So who designed these chairs? Well, I was surprised because I'm not so much of a chair person, but when I find out that it was designed by Marshall Brewer, French architect, who designed the old Whitney American Art Museum, I was overblown because I only knew of him by this architecture that you see on the bottom part of the black and white photograph that you see. Do you see it? It looks like upside down staircase almost. Yes. So he was also designing these chairs, and maybe you might see them, I don't know, at a therapist office or something like that. I don't know, but I just like the simplicity of them. And certainly that's one of his style and mannerism. Okay, and then of course, this is what everyone loves. And we all know who this is, don't we? Yep. Typical. Claude Monet, not Manet. Manet was also his friend. Similar. They sound almost the same. But this is Monet, ladies and gentlemen. He is the man who challenged everyone before him and saying, hey, we are going to be depicting what we see based on depending on different time of the day, capturing the light, capturing the moment, basically from outside light. So in this case, what are we seeing here? Because this is huge. It takes up the whole entire room. You're looking at, what is he known for? Because I've got a news for you, ladies and gentlemen. 2019, they had an auction. An auction, impressionists are coming back. Before collectors were not very much interested in the impressionists like Monet, Manet, even Vincent van Gogh. No. They were more interested in like graffiti artists like Jean-Michel Basquiat. We're going to talk about him shortly, and other type of abstract expressionist art like Jackson Pollock. And then now impressionists are coming back. It got sold at an auction for $100 million. So how about that? And it was one of the Claude Monet's paintings. So what is this? He painted over 250 water lilies. And water lilies, you could go visit his home in Giverny in France. He fell in love with Japanese bridge. And Japanese bridge, you can't really make out over here in the picture. But believe me, there's a Japanese bridge that he built for himself, because at this time, everyone in France, they were obsessed with Japanese art. And this concept of Asian art influence carried on with his passion and his interest. So what you're looking at is the reflection. He studies a reflection of water lilies. Does that make sense? And he paint them very, very quickly, because 12 o'clock noon light is going to look different compared to 6 o'clock evening sunset light, or 12 o'clock midnight for that matter. So you can't take your time. Oh, no. You have to paint fast in loose brush stroke. And because of his technique, he got criticized. All of his friends said, hey, Monet, why don't you finish your paintings? Stop being lazy, finish your paintings already. And can I tell you what he did? Oh yes, when someone challenges you like that and you're an artist and you know what feels good to you, you don't give up. He certainly did not. You know what he did instead? He said, boys and girls, come, come, come. I am going to sign this painting so you could all see that I am done. I mean, can you imagine? Yeah. So this is Monet, and it takes up the whole entire room. That's another thing MoMA decided to do. They didn't go, conservative with the prime real estate. Oh no, they said, we're going to showcase. If they have a statement to make, we're going to honor these people and give them the entire room to themselves. Are you guys surprised by this? Okay, I'm taking you to 4th floor. Unless you stop me, I'm carrying it on. Okay, so 1940 to 1970. So now we're getting younger. Okay, maybe you could all relate to this era better. I don't know. Let's go there. Hot summer day. This is the room I think we all ought to be in. What do you think it is? What stands out to you? Channel your 5-year-old self. Can you please use the chat box and tell me, what do you think it is? Beach with people sunbathing. That's what Damon is saying. People on the beach. Oh, you guys are saying the same thing. Okay, anybody else have completely different thought in mind? No, that's what you got. Well, wait, Meredith is saying, yeah, that also is what it reminds me of. Yep. Yeah, this is like, it doesn't require that much of thinking. It is, you're all correct. It's a swimming pool, but easily it could be a beach because of the color beige in the background, right? I know, I was thinking the same thing. Can you imagine? This is all cut out with scissors. I say this is not painted with paintbrush, it's painted with scissors. I know. How can you paint with scissors? I know. Exactly. You cannot. But this particular artist who also hung around with Pablo Picasso, and Pablo Picasso was jealous of him. Yes, you heard me right, ladies and gentlemen. He was jealous of this artist. Let's find out why. This is Henri Matisse. He was living in one of those hotel residential buildings, and he wanted to, it was a hot summer day. This is towards end of his life. He had gone to the pool. There were too many people there, and he said, oh, I don't want to deal with this. So what does he do? He goes, I'm going to my living room, back to the living room. And he began to cut out shapes that reminded him of people diving in, swimming, splashing, enjoying themselves. And along with it, he wanted to enjoy too. So he would color the papers, the color that he wanted. He wouldn't take already made, factory made papers. The colors were very, very important to him. And then he would cut out the shapes, and he would have had assistants going up the ladder, down the ladder, over here to the right, over here to the left, and then pinning it, and then creating this interesting collage installation. And cutting is almost like act of painting. So he's done many, many paintings, but if you ever look at a painting of his, unfortunately, I didn't include it here in this presentation. It looks as if he's thinking about scissors as he's painting them, because his outlines are very bold and with hard edges. And this is the hotel room that he transformed when he lived there. And you could see the living room with the checker-shaped floors. Can you see that? Yes. So you could make it out with the furnitures, how he was able to put these images together. And MoMA was able to have this entire room as part of their collection. And this room is really, truly magical. If you like sit there, they have a chair. It feels like you're either inside the pool or outside the pool, sunbathing. No one's really sure if it's inside or out, but I don't think it really matters. Only you would know if you're standing in the middle of this room. So something to explore on your own next time you visit New York City. Speaking of room and installation art, I just, this is so interesting to me. Why? This one in particular, A.A. Bronson. He's an artist. There were two other artists that joined him, and he formed an art group. So three artists combined together, they created what you see in front of you. So what you're seeing on the top, can you tell what it's made out of? The top part of the installation art. When the entire room becomes the art, we call it the installation. Oh, Damon, you're saying Mercury. Ayla, you're saying balloons. Anyone else? Because it's clearly like touching the ceiling, right? Yeah, it's actually a balloon that looks like Mercury, but it's a balloon. Helium balloons. So it's able to stay up there, right? But we all know helium balloons, how long do they last? Think about that. How long do they last? I don't really know. Is it like a day? I don't know at all. This is truly not a tricky question. I really don't know. So let's assume, and helium is not rare. Are they really? Okay. I mean, clearly, I haven't gone to that many kids' birthday parties, but yeah. Okay, so it's a helium balloon. It's right attached to the ceiling, but there are no glues or, stickers of any kind. It's just pure physics of the act of helium balloons. And then let's look at what's over there on the floor on the bottom, that rectangular shape with fluorescent lights. What does it remind you of when you look at it? Because they go together as one piece, helium balloons and the light that's displayed on the floor. Oh, Gayla, you thought it was a notebook. No, it's helium in the fluorescent light. Can you see that? You could see it on the side. I don't want to go too zooming in because it's going to blur the image. Yeah, so you could see the shape that the light is radiating. I mean, I want you to think about what I just asked, because you don't have to tell me the answer right now, but keep on thinking if you don't mind, because this is what is said. A.A. Bronson, and he called his groups magic bullets. He said, we're all surrounded by pills because we're channeling 60s, 70s, and 80s era. Now, why am I giving you those three different time periods? If you could channel what happened 70s and 80s, AIDS was huge problem. It was in the height of epidemic, like in the 80s. I think it was the 80s. So all kinds of people were taking drugs, medicine to cure themselves. And at the end, we all know what happened. They all mostly died. And it says here, if we zoom in a little bit, it says general idea, but I don't know if you can make it out with these helium balloons. It looks like the shape of a medicine, pills. Like Benadryl pill, the shape, that oval shape. So now if you go back, it looks like this. What happened to the rest of them? They all fell down. And originally when A.A. Bronson designed this room, if it had fallen down to the ground, you were allowed to take that piece with you, take it home with you, like a souvenir. But now, knowing the fact that I told you, it's his way of commemorating those people who's long gone due to AIDS, I think you would have to think twice before you take them. Excuse me. Or maybe you do want to take them because you want to honor them too. So it's interesting now, because of what's going on, we have to be extra careful of what we touch. Museum decided to clean it up. So whatever's fallen, we're not able to take it home with us. But when I was there last week, this is how that room looks like today. So it's still changing and it's still evolving. Isn't that interesting? And now that I know, I told you the story of this context, what do you think that radiating light is supposed to represent? Please use the chat box. What do you think it's supposed to be? Yeah, yeah. Well, it could be a grave, or it could be like portal to another life, your second life almost, or journey after death. So it's a truly a sad piece to think about. But I love that the MoMA decided to show this type of art too. Yes, Daniel, it looks like a window or gate to heaven. That's what I was thinking, because it's that light, radiating light, instead of the darkness, because it could have been black, you know, fluorescent light, but it's white. So I kind of appreciate that. And then, oh, this couch, this chair. I don't know how many of you, I don't care how exhausted you may get, would you want to sit on this couch? Let me ask you. Meredith is saying, no, thank you. I know.
A dirty mop, like a mop to me or something like that.
I love that connection. That is so funny. A dirty mop. Oh, I love that. Anybody else have different thoughts? Whatever it is, I mean, dirty. Kayla, can you? I love that. I love that. Wait, I cannot see you. I cannot see you again. But if, ladies and gentlemen, if you can read it, it kind of looks phallic, right? I mean, I was thinking that too. Well, but I was also thinking, oh my goodness, it looks like mold or something grotesque growing. Something is growing. So therefore you would have to clean it. Channeling Meredith's connection to mopping. But I don't know, it's just whatever it is, it's kind of gross to look at. And I think that's the beauty of this couch, if I could say that. Why? This is designed by an artist who's still alive. Her name is Yayoi Kusama. Maybe you have seen her on the news. And she is hot, hot, hot right now. Yes, she is in her 90s. She is in Japan, Tokyo, and she even has a museum named after her, Kusama Museum. However, she came to New York City in the 60s, and this is the piece she made. Now, this is how she saw her world around her. What? She saw a world around her with phallic symbols? Yes, but hold on. And also dots. Those images of like whatever growing became simplified shapes for dots. And she said all the particles that we don't really see. I mean, if she's thinking like this, she should have been a scientist, I think. I mean, can you imagine dust particles, right? Things that's floating all around us. We don't even see because they're so small. She also was hallucinated. She must have been, right? And that is most people's speculation. She must have been hallucinated. She had a trauma growing up. We all, I think, could relate to a certain extent. And she had a trauma, and she really didn't know how to take care of her trauma. And she saw this trauma as speckles of dust, dots. And this is how she saw her world. She even checked herself to a mental institution in Japan. Yes, she did. Just like Vincent van Gogh. But can I tell you, she somehow overcame her obstacles. She did infinity room. This room, you're going in and it's like infinity of dots and dots and dots, as if you're in like outer space. But truly, this is how she saw her world around her. And some people fell in love with it. I'm not so sure. I'm still debating how I feel about her piece and her world. But if you want to get any of her paintings right now, let's say you want to start collecting after today, her stuff is going for $1 million and more. So her works are in demand. And she's still alive. Can you imagine after she passes? Oh my goodness, price would only go up in value. And this is what she said. I don't know, could somebody read this for us? Somebody else other than Damon?
I'll read it. In the
Thank
universe, the moon, the sun, each and every star, my own life, your life, they are all a single polka dot among billions.
Thank you. Yeah, it's not so different from what I said, but this is what she's thinking. This is what she's channeling, and this is what she's making. So, hey, you never know what artists are thinking. Now let's go to the lower floor, 1972 now. This means we could all relate, supposedly, okay? So let's see what kind of stuff we're gonna come across. Oh, this is a room I told you earlier, graffiti artist, street art, also known as Jean-Michel Basquiat. There's so much movies, documentaries on this artist. The one on the left, okay? Let's go there. He only lived, Jean-Michel Basquiat, I'll show you a picture of him. It's coming up next. He only lived to be only 27 years old. He overdosed. Everything he touched, I mean, my goodness, he was brilliant. He was really smart. Haitian, Puerto Rican background. He decided to run away from home, but he was homeless. But somehow he created this magical sensation with words and pictures and collage. And this is called, I mean, before I give it away what it is, I mean, what do you think he's channeling here? Jean-Michel Basquiat, he is Black American, okay? But I told you, Haitian, Puerto Rican background. He lived in New York City. He was discovered in New York City. He was hanging out with Andy Warhol. He knew all the mover and shakers, but he was homeless too. Well, can you imagine? How could something like this? Because if you're trying to buy one right now, I've got news for you. Up until last year, before last year, the lowest you could get was $350 million. Yes, 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 350. That was the lowest you could buy. Last year, everything due to whatever happened, it got really, really low, but they sold it because everyone wants his artwork for the fact that his life was so short-lived. Most of his artwork don't exist. It's not on the market, right? So if there are more demands, the value is going to go up. Now, what is he doing? You could see piano key like pattern shaped, checker shaped teeth. But what's coming out of the mouth is like the reddish line. So that's the main focal point here. Do you see that? And it's got so much stuff glued on and collage onto the background. You really have to take time to look at this painting. But clearly there's some sort of energy that's coming out of the skull-like shape. I hope you could see the skull-like structure with the black color face. Yes, because he was channeling not just anyone, somebody who could speak their mind and write about it. And that happened to be this man right here on his right. Let's look at his title. Jean-Michel Basquiat is on the left. That's the artist. The one on the right, his name is Glenn. Now, I'm a writer. Look at this title. This title is a handful. Mouthful, rather, mouthful. I'm a writer, editor, copywriter, and creative director. I also have worked at a grocery clerk, demolition man, steel worker, waiter, bartender, salesman, needlepoint painter, art director, singer, stand-up comedian, and record producer. Whoa, I need to drink water on that one. So Glenn, everything he touched also turned into gold. He briefly wrote for the newsletter for Andy Warhol when Andy Warhol had a factory. Andy Warhol's known as the party man who did the Campbell soup, you know. So it's interesting to see Glenn was so instrumental for Jean-Michel Basquiat, because when you're an artist, somebody has to write about you. How are they gonna find out your hidden talents, right? Even if you go to all the parties every single day and doing your drinking and taking drugs and partying and girls and everything else, you still need more publicity at the end of the day. But he kind of looked up to Glenn, writer, as his mentor, almost like a father figure. So this is his dedication to the people around him. And he was very much, you know, he admired him and he looked up to him. So that's his image of him, which looks nothing like him. But yet people love it because something about his mannerism, Jean-Michel Basquiat, it's loose. It's almost as if child did it. I don't know how you feel about this. Now, this is what I mean by last year. One of his painting came out for market and it got sold for $41.8 million, which is really, really cheap compared to what he's been selling for in the past. And then this one, oh, this is really exciting to me, but it's super gross, maybe more than Kusama's couch. Now, these are honey jars, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, with 2 baby honey jars. Can you guess what's inside? Definitely not honey. No, no. What do you think is inside? Ashes. Oh, hair. I love this. Anybody else have different ideas? I know the picture is not crispy clear, okay, but you could get the mood of it by looking at the colors. Anybody else besides ashes and hair? I don't know, Joseph, you want to write down what you think it may be? I'm picking on some of you because I cannot see your faces. What do you think it may be? Because without the letters, there are 2 letters side by side, okay? And one of you are going to read this for me, please. It's so easy. No SAT words. But what do you think is inside these jars? So far we only have ashes and hair. That's it? No other takers? No? Okay. Well, this is Adrian Piper. She's still alive, right? Much younger than Kusama. She wrote a statement of interest. And she wrote this. She wrote this letter. The next letter is going to look much more clear to you. Let me zoom in. Okay. Now, this is the part I would love for somebody else to read, please. And then you could see who got it right. What's inside the honey jar. So, can somebody read this? Please.
I can read it.
Thank you.
Kayla. Statement of intent. The final form of this piece will comprise the statement, "What will become of me?" together with honey jars storing my hair, nails, and skin collected from December the 1st, 1985 to my death, plus my cremated ashes. I intend to donate this work to the Museum of Modern Art. Signed, Adrian Piper.
Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you. You guys, this is still ongoing. I mean, Damon, you're ahead of the game. Ashes yet to come. But I know, I mean, we should not be laughing at this piece. I mean, it's really gross and it's just like, what? Yes, modern art could be continuous, unprocessed. It's still going. It's like now, right now at this time, almost past, present, and future. Isn't that fascinating? So what you were looking at before were her hair graduating, fading from darker blackish color to medium tone to light because she's getting older. Unfortunately, we're all getting older, but younger in spirits. And then her fingernails and her toenails. I think her toenails are the one with the little ones. I cannot imagine the big ones, no. So yes, so she is dedicating all of herself to the MoMA. What do you think about that? I mean, to me, this is like, I was overblown when I saw this statement of intent. Yeah, she still donates. Yeah, like annually. Yes, 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 yes. So it's going to be, imagine more honey jars, okay? So it's going to be even longer piece, or maybe unless they stack it up. I really don't know. I mean, if I ever go back, it's still up there. I'll take pictures and share them with you. But you can see it in different perspective. Yeah, it's fascinating, but gross at the same time. Yeah, you have to go to the Starbucks right now. I'm reading statements of statement. Okay, okay. in case you're wondering. Yeah, it is so interesting. And oh, wait, don't go yet. Hold on. Alexander Calder. This is one of the special exhibits at the MoMA right now. So I wanted to give you that experience. And if you could channel your 5-year self, do you remember like staying in your crib? Maybe you don't remember looking at the ceiling and seeing objects move around before you, you know, to be entertained. I'm talking about mobiles, right? And Alexander Calder, Pennsylvania born, he was obsessed with wire art. So what you're looking is, look at the shadow. That will give you more clear indication what he was trying to make. Clearly, he's trying to make human, right? Out of wire. But even if you don't see the whole entire thing with the clothing and everything else, this person's clearly a woman. Can you see that? Can you see her boobs? Yes. And then you can see the earrings, right? So who is this person? And why are we talking about this? Josephine Baker. Have you heard of her? I'm sure you've seen her. She's wearing banana dress. You could Google her on YouTube and you could see her performing. She was a big time performer. She was offered to be one of the civil rights activists. And she said, no, I don't want to be separated from my children. I'm going to go to France where Black Americans are not less discriminated and show off my hidden talent, which is to become a performer for all. And Alexander Calder came across meeting her in France because I told you, you're an artist, writer, dancer, anyone in the creative sector, you had to start your career in France. He did too, Alexander Calder. He's one of the artists who's known for children's mobile. And he was given a first retrospective show at the MoMA. So he is a big time mover and shaker in modern art. And there he is with over 300 of the wire sculptures that he made for a circus. And he also has an engineering degree. However, he really fell in love with the art. So what does he do? He makes collapsible portable wire art. He carries it in his suitcase and he takes them out and makes movable wire circus piece. And this is how he made money and survived in Paris. So before I let you go, because I still have 2 minutes, hold on. I want to show you a video. Okay, are we doing okay? Yes, this is the video. We should see how he made money and how he did them because they are all supposed to move around. So let's see him in action. I'm going to stop here. So you could see how he made them all move around. And you could see how entertaining it is if you have more time to enjoy them. So I know, thank you so much for your participation, but quick Q&A. Any surprises for you? What did you think of how MoMA displayed their new collections, I mean, old and new collections, and putting them together to redefine what modern art is to them, or to us, or to everyone?
I think it was different than what I expected.
What were you expecting, Meredith?
Just less of a variety, I guess. Like everything was really different. And I guess that's not always what I would expect to see.
Yes, I agree with. That's why I had to put the metal gates in there. I had to put at least one black and white pictures. I didn't include the film. They had film in there. They had more couches and furnitures and video art. I mean, forget about it. I did what I could, but if you physically go there, I used to tell people you need at least 2 hours. Now forget it. You need at least 3 hours. Seriously. But if you live in New York City like me, 1 hour and you come back, then see different floors. But today, for me to pack all those 5 floors together, and Alexander Calder carries on to outdoor garden, which is also available. So I wanted to give you that experience as if you're going from, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And right now they have Formula car racing Ferrari displayed right now in the lobby, which I was like, oh, now I have to talk about cars. So they're adding cars to their collection, as I'm telling you right now, which is like, who knew? So on that note, I hope I've inspired you a little bit to come visit us in New York City. And unless otherwise you have any more questions, I could stop the